Chodesh Tov from Sarah Sandler. That's the attitude. Look at the beautiful picture she has. See the galaxy. What is it called? The group view is really the way to go. Oh, Rivka, great, wonderful. I'm starting to feel secure. Okay. So, let's see. So today is special. We're going to have a special class on Elul in honor of it being Rosh Chodesh Elul, either the first day or the second day, depending on which continent you're on. So the first thing I wanted to share was a very famous mimer by the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, which is in Likutei Torah. See, Likutei Torah is a very big and heavy book. You can get a lot of exercise taking it to your chavrusa, and it has very tiny print in Rosh script. But it's all poetry. It could actually have been written, each mimer of the Alter Rebbe could have been written as a poem. It's like he's really one of the great Russian poets from 1798. And the mimer that I want to share is on Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li Rashi Tevis Elul. So I guess everyone knows that it's on page 32 in A, just in case anyone wants to look at it. I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to translate some highlights from the first os that I wanted to share with you. So the Alter Rebbe begins by saying, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li, of course from Shir HaShirim, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine. And the initial letters of those four words spells out Elul. Elul, by the way, he doesn't mention it here, is also spelled out in different places that are noticed, different meaningful places. I'll just share one more that I've always liked. In Megillas Esther, it says, Ish l're'ehu v'umatanis le'evyonim. We're speaking about celebrating Purim, the Shalach Manas is Ish l're'ehu, a man to his friend, and Matanis le'evyonim is gifts to the poor. So that's also Rashi Tevis Elul. You see Elul is good things happening. Okay, so Ani L'Dodi, starting with Ani, the person, us, is the arousal from below. So that's Elul. Elul and Tishrei is Ani L'Dodi, arousal from below. And Pesach is when Hashem redeemed us. That's V'Dodi Li. That's Hashem coming from above. My beloved is mine. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe points out immediately that one of the most super special things about Elul is that the Yud Gimel Midos are shining. The 13 attributes of compassion are shining. Normally, they only shine on very special occasions, like Yantif, Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, if you remember, in the Elul, we say it many, many times, the 13 mitzvahs of Rachamim. I mean, it's a big deal when the 13 mitzvahs of Rachamim are shining. So the only time they shine on a plain old day of the week is in Elul. The 13 mitzvahs shine every day, every moment. And we're going to speak about them because these 13 mitzvahs of compassion are above Hishtalshelus, above the evolutions of the world. They're coming from a very high place. We spoke about, for those who were here when we were learning Transforming Darkness into Light, that when we lower the ego, shiftless, hachna'ah, when we lower the ego, that space becomes filled with Hashem's rachamim. And now for this month, it's not just plain old rachamim, compassion, but these 13 attributes that are above the evolutions of the world, above the creation of the world, very strong compassion from Hashem. Like he understands it's been 2,000 years of this very, very dark gullus. 2,000 years of a very dark. How could a Jew not make a mistake in 2,000 years? Such a difficult time. So he's with us. He has compassion for us. He understands all of our trials and tribulations. Okay, so then the Alter Rebbe brings the mashal of a king in the field. This is where it's introduced. You know, we're so used to the concept of the king is in the field and Elul, but this is the mimer where it's for this concept is first introduced. So the Alter Rebbe says, before the king comes to a city, the people of the city go out to the field to meet the king. There's permission for those who want to greet him. And the king greets all of us with a kind and happy face. So this is something very special because it's much easier to do tshuva if the person we want to say I'm sorry to is looking at us with a kind and happy face rather than judgmental. Then it's much harder to say I'm sorry. But the king loves us and has rachmanis for us and understands how we happen to fall into that quandary. So the people go out to the city to greet him. We can speak to him, and he's happy to see us. And face to face, we get the Yud Gimel Midas Harachim. One second, I'm just grabbing a tissue. Okay, so Hashem will shine a revelation of his pneumius will, the Alter Rebbe says, on the source of the Jewish souls through our making our pneumius will towards Hashem. So that's it. We all have a will, we have a pneumius will, and this is a time to direct it to Hashem. And the pneumius will that we have is to cleave to Hashem from the depths of our hearts with Mesiras Nefesh. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. From the depths of our hearts with Mesiras Nefesh, we want to cleave to Hashem. We have that in us. We have to just make it conscious. Like when I hear it, it does sound right. This is what we want. And this is a time where it's an empowerment. We're being empowered by the time, Elul, Rosh Chodesh Elul, and the Alter Rebbe's words, that we should cleave to Hashem from the depths of our hearts with Mesiras Nefesh. And Mesiras Nefesh, giving over the soul, is always something higher than the intellect, higher than logic. It's coming from a very deep place in our soul that transcends logic. And then the Alter Rebbe says, every Jew has a spark of godliness that enlivens our divine soul. So we've spoken about this, the divine, we have a piece of Hashem in us. And it wants to limsor nafsho, it wants to go back and become one with Hashem. It's like, and it's coming from a higher place than Chachman Das, higher than logic, to nullify ourselves to Hashem. You know, the Alter Rebbe speaks about it in Tanya, that if you have a match that's lit, and you have next to it a torch, the flame from the match will jump into the torch. I heard that the Bachram in Morristown did this as they didn't even burn the building down, but you can do it anytime you're by a bonfire. Light a match and you'll bring it near and you'll see the flame will jump into the fire. It wants to be one. It wants to be one with its source. So we have a piece in our soul that wants to nullify ourselves to Hashem, that wants to be one with Hashem. And then the Alter Rebbe says, he gives a quote from last week's Chumash from Re'eh, Banim atem lahavaya elokecha. We are children to Hashem, our God. And like a child that's part of his father, to be included in Hashem's will above Tam Vadas, that we should have no other will, that we should nullify our will to Hashem's will. This is what it says in Pirkei Avos. So this is the experience. This is the experience that's open to us in Elul, to nullify ourselves to Hashem's will, to have no other will. And yes, so Pirkei Avos says to make our will Hashem's will, to nullify our will to his will. So there's moments we can feel that. You know, the Alter Rebbe says in Geras HaTshuva, the third book of Tanya, that doing tshuva is not, it's not like I'm doing tshuva on a particular thing, like I'm never going to do that transgression again. The feeling of tshuva is I'm never going to transgress Hashem's will again. That's the moment of tshuva. Even if we can, for however long we can hold it, you know, it's like it's something, just to feel a true moment of tshuva, that I don't find, you know, connect with the part of ourselves where we don't want to transgress Hashem's will. So in order for him to shine his pneumius ratzon on us, his inner will on us, we need to nullify our will. So there's no other will. And that's basically the first os of this mimer. So the king coming to the field and looking at us with compassion, that's an important idea. Yesterday, as Rosh Chodesh came on, we were sitting on our back porch, welcoming the king to the field, welcoming the king. He's here with us. And I saw something, and so this is a famous mimer, Chabad.org, was somebody was giving over this mimer. And it said, I guess it was a guy who was giving it over, and he said that we go out to the field in our blue jeans, and Hashem is also wearing his blue jeans. And I thought if I was going to put it in my language, I would say, Hashem, I'm wearing my Crocs, and Hashem is wearing his Crocs. And sure, look at that. We're just hanging out with the king in the field. We're both, like he wants a relationship with us. It's something very beautiful. When the Alter Rebbe is introducing in chapter 48 in the first book of Tanya, when he's introducing the idea of tzimtzum, that Hashem is making himself, he's reducing himself, he's making himself smaller in order to have a relationship with us, because he's really big and we're not so big, but he wants to have a relationship with us. So this is the concept of tzimtzum. I'm going to say more about that. I just want to share also some notes from Rabbi Yossi Paltiel, where he's also speaking about the idea of the king being in the field. He says it includes everyone. The king relates to us at our level. Anila dodi v'dodi li. I think this is such an important, it's us how we are now, with our whole story, with our whole set of, I'm laughing and crying, our childhood traumas, of our adult traumas, of everything as we are, what we've been through. He relates to us as we are now. So Anila dodi v'dodi li, I reach out to Hashem and Hashem reciprocates. Another pasuk in Shir Hashirim says, Dodi li v'ani lo, and that's again Pesach, where Hashem initiates the relationship and redeems us. Now it's Elul, and we have to initiate the relationship. So Elul and Tishrei are the season of tshuva, that we initiate. Here's a very good sentence. We initiate our re-engaging with Hashem, and Hashem responds. So I think that's something we can all relate to, re-engaging with Hashem. Doesn't that sound tempting? Why not? Let's make life more interesting and re-engage with Hashem. So this is the arousal from below. And again, this idea that tshuva means the resolve not to transgress anymore. And it's a realistic mitzvah because we can feel it. We can feel it even if we just feel it for a moment. We can feel what it means, that we want to resolve to align, to resonate with Hashem's innermost will. We can feel that moment. So the fact that we have a relationship with Hashem is a gift. It's amazing. The creator of the world, we have a relationship with him. And Hashem has given us an additional gift. We can correct and recenter our relationship. So this is where I wanted to say about what it says in chapter 48, where the Alter Rebbe is introducing the concept of tzimtzum. So he gives a quote. He gives a quote from Gemara Baba Metzia. I think it's page 48, but don't quote me on that. I'll have to check in Tanya, 84. And the Alter Rebbe, the Gemara says there, it tells the story of a Roman matron. This is the time of the Gemara, Roman matron who was very interested in biology, I guess. And there were some very, very fat sages, the Amoraim. I think it was Rav Papa and his wife. They were both immensely obese. And this Roman matron wanted to know, how is it possible for two such fat people to have 10 children? She didn't think it was biologically possible for them to get together, and she was interested in natural science. So she asked one of the sages, how is it possible they have 10 children? And the answer was, Ahava dohekes es habasar. Love pushes away the flesh. So love pushes away the flesh. Isn't that romantic? With these two, this this fat couple could still get it together and have 10 children. And this is Hashem. This is how the Alter Rebbe explains Hashem's relationship with us. Love pushes away the flesh. He's really big. He created the entire universe, but he wants a relationship with us, and love pushes away the flesh. All those simsumim, the first simsum and all the other, all the contractions, he had to contract and contract and contract and contract, all because he wants a relationship with us. Now tell me if that's not beautiful. Okay. So the 10 days of tshuva, a Jew feels the revealed presence of Hashem, and this is through our efforts now in Elul. In other words, you want the 10 days of tshuva to be really exciting, want to feel Hashem's presence all the time. Why not? I mean, let's get the most out of life. So we have to initiate a relationship with Hashem now in Elul. We have to initiate a relationship with Hashem. So this is very exciting. And by the way, Sukkot is the right hand embracing us. The Baal Shem Tov said that the Yechida, the inner essence of our soul that's one with Hashem, that reveals itself in the 10 days of tshuva through yira, through awe, on Sukkot it reveals itself through joy, through simcha. So there's a lot to look forward to, but now we have to initiate it. We have to initiate it now. So Elul, we do tshuva. In the 10 days, so the more we utilize Elul, the more meaningful the Yemei Na'arayim will be, the 10 days of tshuva will be. And beginning with the Kisvei Arizal, it's the Arizal who says that Elul is the time of the Hiskalos, of the revelation of the 13 Midos of Rachamim that are higher than Hishtalshalos, higher than the evolutions of the world. So we have two Chedushim here. One is from the Arizal, that the Yud Gimel Midos of Rachamim that normally only shine on Yom Tov, Yom Kippur, are now shining upon us. So this gives us encouragement that we should go out and do it. Okay, so what else do we do during Elul? During Elul, from today, which was, now we've moved on to Aleph Elul, but today was Lamed Menachem Av. Lamed Menachem Av, it's still that for the people in America. We start reading the 27th kapitel of Tehillim, after the Shir Shel Yom in the morning and just before Aleinu in Mincha. So it's read twice a day. It's very beautiful. And when we read it from today until Hoshana Rabbah, it's read for 50 days, the 27th kapitel. So I just want to speak about it a little bit. If you have a Tehillim handy within arm's range, or if you have it on your phone, open to Chav Zayin, the David Hashem Ori V'Yishi. So I'm just going to go through some of the lines. Today, by the way, Lamed Menachem of Rosh Chodesh is a day that the shofar is just practice. But tomorrow, Aleph, the shofar is blown seriously every day, getting us ready, getting us in the mood. And we start saying on Aleph tomorrow, we start saying the 3 extra kapitlach of the day, the 3 extra chapters of Tehillim that the Baal Shem Tov said to say, that finishes after Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur. And it's a great feeling. It's such a great feeling after Ne'ilah to have said those three extra chapters every day. And yeah, great way to go into the joy of Sukkot. Highly recommended by the holy Baal Shem Tov. Okay, Chav Zayin, everyone's ready. So David Hashem Ori V'Yishi Mimi Iro Hashem Oz Chayai Mimi Epchad. So Hashem is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Hashem is the strength of my life. Who shall I dread? And this, of course, reminds us of the last words of the Baal Shem Tov's father to the Baal Shem Tov before he passed away, that to only fear Hashem. To only fear Hashem. So this is a strengthening for us. When evildoers approached me to devour my flesh, my oppressors and my foes, they stumbled and fell. And we can see this, of course, as the inner evildoers, the thoughts that drive us crazy, the thoughts that make us miserable, that we can overcome them. We don't have to We don't have to let them traumatize us. We can overcome them. We have strength from Hashem to overcome them. If an army were to beleaguer me, my heart would not fear. If war were to rise against me, in this I trust. So in this I trust. Bezos ani boteach. There's a footnote in the Lubavitch Tehillim from Rashi. I trust that Hashem is my light and my salvation. Yes, okay, then we get to the most famous line, I think, in this. It's a very popular song among all ages. Acha sho'alti me'es Hashem. It's translated most easily as one thing I have asked of Hashem. I'll read the whole thing and then we'll go back to Acha sho'alti. I'll just read the whole thing so we can get it. Acha sho'alti me'es Hashem osa avakesh. This is what I seek. Shifti beveis Hashem, kol yemei hayai, that I should dwell in the house of Hashem all the days of my life. Lechazos benoim Hashem, to behold the pleasantness of Hashem, ulevaker beheicholo, and to visit in His sanctuary. Okay, so let's go back to that Acha sho'alti me'es Hashem. So one of the ideas that I heard is that we're really asking. We're asking to what we want, achas, we want Hashem's oneness. We want Hashem's oneness to be revealed to us. We want to see Hashem's oneness. In a way, Hashem's oneness is something that transcends logic. It's the human brain. It's hard to, ein od milvado. It's hard to grasp. What does it mean that it's all Hashem, that we're all one, that everything is a part of Hashem. Hashem is recreating everything, every moment from Himself. So this is what we're asking for, revelations of oneness, of Hashem's oneness. Acha sho'alti me'es Hashem. I always think, once I learned that, it really changed these words. But I'm asking for revelations of Hashem's oneness. Let's ask for that. I mean, it transforms everything to know it's all Hashem. I learned from Y.Y. Jacobson that, that we know that Abraham introduced ethical monotheism. So the ethical part, we understand that, and the ethical part is a big protection. There's the Rebbe's Rishimas, the Rebbe's diaries that were discovered after Gimel Tammuz, after the Rebbe was nostalgic, though we know, of course, he's still here, as all the great tzaddikim are. It was discovered, the Rebbe's diaries, from before he became Rebbe. And for Parshas Re'eh, it was like in the early 1940s, the Rebbe was, it might have been the late 30s. It was before the Rebbe became Rebbe. He wrote about last week's Parsha, about the kosher. We've spoken about it before, about for a fish to be kosher, it has to have fins and scales. So the scales are like the protection, the armor of the fish. And the fins are what let it like fly through the water. But it's known that every fish that has scales also has fins. There's fish with fins without scales, but they're not kosher. But all kosher fish have fins and scales. So why isn't it enough? Why didn't the Torah just say for a fish to be kosher, it has to have scales? Why did it have to have fins? So again, the scales are morality, ethics. It protects us. If we don't steal, if we don't transgress the sexual prohibitions, if all of these things, it protects us. It's a tremendous protection for our soul, the ethics of the Torah. But the many people thought it's enough to just have scales. I'll live in my own isolated community. And I won't have to worry about, anything else, any outside influences. But no, we have to have fins also, because fins are ambition. You can see ambition without ethics can be very bad. So fins and no scales is not kosher. But we need fins because the Rebbe said, Kehr a Welt heim, turn over a world today. It's very ambitious. Taking the world, turning it over and bringing the Geula is a very ambitious activity. So that's why the fish needs fins and scales. We need to have both the protection. So this is where I was going with ethical monotheism. So we got the ethical part down. Then what about the monotheism part? So there were people who think, and it's even, in some simplistic definitions, monotheism is defined as we don't have a lot of small little godlets, little statues, God forbid, around the house. We believe in one God. But Hasidus teaches that it's much more than that, it's not just that we have one God, it's that God is one, God is everything. That's the Acha Sho'alti. We're asking to experience that. We're asking to experience Hashem's oneness. This every time we say these words in Elul, Acha Sho'alti Me'as Hashem. I want that Achas. I want that Achas. Life will be, because we won't have to get into fights with people. We don't have to feel lonely because Hashem is one with us. It's like definitely a good thing when we say these words twice a day. Okay, so another thing on this line. So this is a song. Acha Sho'alti Me'as Hashem Osa Avakesh. So Shifti B'Veis Hashem. So let me give you a little background of my connection with this chapter of Tehillim. So I was 26 when I became from. And I've spoken before about the first letter after I was living in Crown Heights 1 month, which meant I was from 1 month. People said I should write the Rebbe and introduce myself, and I wanted to be honest. And I wrote about that I'd spent the last 4 years trying out all different kinds of meditation traditions, which Avodah Zorah. And somebody could have said that I was Chayav Misa, that I was, getting the death penalty for idol worship, 70,000 times. But the Rebbe had a different approach and wrote back to me. I spoke about this before, that since Yagati was fulfilled, certainly Matzati has also been fulfilled. Since I searched has been fulfilled, I spent 4 years searching. Certainly Matzati, I found, has also been fulfilled. Now I'm living in Crown Heights with the Hasidim as a student of the Rebbe and the Hasidim. So that was, and then later, so this was 1974, and later in the late 70s, Yagati Matzati Ta'amin, I searched and I found, believe him, became one of the 12 Pesukim that the Rebbe wanted every man, woman, and child to memorize. So the Rebbe also said to me in that letter that I should start saying the kapitel of Tehillim that I would be on my next birthday. So that was 27. That was this wonderful kapitel, Acha Sho'alti. So that summer, when I was already from 3 months, I went to Beis Chana in Minnesota, where Manas Friedman was teaching. And there were a lot of young girls. They were like the Madrichim, young post-seminary girls. And during Elul, they would sing this Acha Sho'alti Me'as Hashem Osa Evakesh. If you've ever heard enthusiastic young girls sing it, and then they get to Shifty, Shifty, Shifty. Have you ever heard young girls raise your hand? If you've heard young girls sing Shifty, 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 Shifty B'Veis Hashem. Okay, I don't want to sing too much because of my. Okay. Anyway, I won't cry. So Shifty B'Veis Hashem, to dwell in Hashem's house, and I was very touched that everyone was singing my kapitel from Tehillim, at least these key words. It was very meaningful for me to dwell in Hashem's house. Yes, and then it continues. So it continues next with Yitzpaneni B'Sukkah. So this is he'll hide me in his sukkah. So this is the sukkah when everything we've done now, our efforts in Elul bring us on Hashem's presence during the 10 days, and then the joy of Sukkot, the joy while we're dwelling in the Sukkah. All of it is from our efforts, and everything that we do now, everything we're trying to accomplish in these days of Elul should be revealed. So he'll hide me in his sukkah on a day of adversity. He will conceal me in the hidden places of his tent. He will lift me upon a rock. Very empowering. Lift me upon a rock. I think of it as being lifted above all the thoughts that drive us crazy, like Like we have to feel empowered. We can lift ourselves up and we could look at them. Oh, look, remember we spoke about that, objectively looking at ourselves, right? Like in Emmett, we would say, what are my racing thoughts? What are my physical symptoms? So this is looking at our thoughts from a rock. Hashem is lifting us above them. We have to feel this empowerment. This is what this kapitel, the words of this kapitel, with this chapter of Tehillim is really an empowerment. So on line 6, and then my head will be raised above my enemies around me, and I will offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of jubilation, zivchei serua. I will sing and chant to Hashem. Beautiful. Jubilation, we could use a little jubilation. We're getting closer. Hashem, hear my voice as I call, be gracious to me and answer me. Oh, here's a good one, line 8. In your behalf, now let's look at this in both the Hebrew, Lecha amar libi. So we're saying to Hashem, in your behalf, my heart says, Bakshu panai, seek my countenance. And the word countenance, panai, is also hinting at panemius. Bakshu, we want to connect with Hashem on a panemius level. We don't want just that robotic, I'm laughing and crying at the same time, that robotic approach to our Yiddishkeit. No. We want a panemius connection. Bakshu panai es panecha Hashem avakesh. Your countenance, Hashem, I will seek. We want panemius with Hashem. Do not conceal your countenance from me. Do not cast aside your servant in wrath. You have been my help. Do not abandon me nor forsake me. Hashem is my deliverance. Very positive words. Though my father and mother have forsaken me, Hashem has taken me in. Right. Hashem is there. Hashem is there. I remember Y.Y. Jacobson saying on this, that my father and mother could fall asleep after the child is conceived, but Hashem is there. Hashem is there for the newly conceived cell. Hashem is there for us. Hashem, teach me your way and lead me in the path of righteousness because of my watchful enemies. Again, those are our thoughts. They're looking for a chance to drive us crazy. They're very experienced in driving us crazy, but we're going to be lifted up on a rock above them. Do not give me over to the will of my oppressors, for they have risen against me false witnesses, and they speak evil. Again, it's the inner thoughts. They would have crushed me had I not believed that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. And the last line is Kaveil Hashem Hazak Bi'ametz. Hope in Hashem, be strong, and let your heart be valiant, and hope in Hashem. Kaveil Hashem. So I hope that enthusiastically giving it over. We have to say it twice a day. If you've only tried, we have to try hard to say, even if you don't manage to Shacharis Chas v'Sholom, say the 27th kapitel in the morning. So I just wanted to say about the notes of the shofar. So it was known that there's a long tekiah. It begins with that long sound, ah. So I can't sing, but I'm very good at shofar imitations. Then there was something called the trua, and there was a debate among the sages of whether it was which we call shvorim, or whether it was what we call trua, So they put both in. So the they describe as the moaning of an old lady. And the is the cry of a baby. They couldn't decide which one. So the first line is the long tekiah, and then have to be at least 3 of those. And then the trua, there have to be at least 9 of those, and then the long tekiah. And then there's a second line of tekiah, shvorim, tekiah, and the third and last line is tekiah, trua, tekiah, and the last tekiah is called a tekiah gedola, a long tekiah. And that long tekiah we could only reach by going through all that breaking, it represents all the breaking experiences of life. There's the breaking of life, and there's the breaking, and both of these, it's all of life that allows us to reach the final long tekiah. Without that, we couldn't reach that final long tekiah. So all of our life experiences, as we learned in Torah Sanefesh, this is all bringing us, it's all bringing us to the Geula. It's all bringing us closer to revelations of Hashem. All of those experiences, all those, and we know those experiences. So we have to try to be someplace where we can hear the shofar every day. If you're very talented, you could blow it yourself. That's very advanced. But otherwise, we understand all of these notes.